It's a word you've been hearing a lot online these days. I know that I laugh every single time that I see it because it reminds me of that Friends episode where Ross is trying to move a couch into a new apartment and then on the stairwell it gets stuck and he just continues to scream the word pivot. If you're a Friends fan, I know you know what I'm talking about. And right now, it is definitely the hot word going around on social media, right? You see everyone offering really awesome advice about how to pivot your business. And in MeetEdgar's live streams, we're going to really be focusing on providing you great material for this. However, today I want to start out with sharing how MeetEdgar itself actually pivoted in 2014 from being an educational business to being one that was a software company. And this comes from Laura Roeder's story, and she started out with some flagship courses like Social Brilliant and Creating Fame, and we're just going to go over the idea of why you should build a really strong community so that when you make a pivot, they will follow you and they will purchase from you no matter what you're selling because you've built the trust within that community. So let's dive into Laura's story now and see what you personally can take from this story in order to bring into your own business. So this is all about how Edgar went from being an educational business to a social media automation tool. It is all, like I said, about these raving fans that Laura built up with her expertise and her authority over the years in her educational business that made our pivot possible. So right now, as you might be thinking about new opportunities for yourself online, think first about the community that you're going to bring along with you. Think about getting traction before you put a product or a service out there with people who know your name and who know what you do and what you're about. That secret sauce was in her course called Creating Fame. And this is something anyone can do these days because really the goal of this course is to make sure we have hungry customers that are going to snap up every little thing that you have to offer. How you do this is step one is going to be to create a compelling standout story. This is the core of the messaging you're putting out there. This encompasses your mission statement. This encompasses the values of your company, everything that goes into the story about why you're starting this business or about why you're doing the pivot. So that's going to be the first step in creating fame. The second step is going to be to get that community, a devoted audience who really wants to learn every piece of content you put out there, every product that you make. They are going to buy it because you've told that story in such a compelling way that you've created a raving fan. Step number three is going to be a clever online marketing, and this all goes into your content that you're putting out there. So there's valuable content that everyone wants to consume that you're offering for free to position yourself as an expert in your field. So these are kind of the three steps of creating fame, and anyone can do this these days because of the wide variety of avenues you have to get your name out there. You have things like podcasts, joint webinars, guest blog posts on people's sites, creating your own YouTube channel. These can be things that you can create on your own, or you can partner with other people to get your name and get your brand out there. It is an amazing place, this online space, that we all have a niche that we can kind of carve out our own space online these days. And these are the tools that you use to get famous in the business world. Creating fame has never been easier, and now has never been a better time to start because so many people are hungry for content in all of these forms. And once you get the content out there, whether you're being a guest on someone's podcast or whether you're writing your own blog, upcycling this content on social media lets you build more authority, especially if you're making connections with other people in your industry who already have an established name within your industry. You want to make sure that you're reaching out to have these joint webinars, to be a guest on their podcast, because by association, it's going to make you famous in the business world. So first and foremost, you need to start changing your mindset, especially if you're going into making a pivot, to say it's okay to start promoting something new online. And it's okay to position yourself as an expert and start to make these networking connections online. Being famous in your field and having this authority by association with people who have already had an established community, for you, what that means is you can start charging higher fees for your product or service once your name is associated with them, because it builds up testimonials. It builds up your authority in the field just by association. So this is why it's so important to put yourself out there and to make sure it's okay to be known in your field. And it's okay to go out and reach out to maybe bigger people on LinkedIn LinkedIn. Make these connections now so that in the future, when you're ready to launch a product or service or make a pivot, it's easy to charge higher fees for it because you have that social proof established. And all you need to do to start this is really have one, what we call anchor client. This is that one client who has a big name out there and has an influence within your sphere already. Can you go out there and get them as your first client? Once you get that name working with you, you can leverage that to reach out to more people and say, hey, my services have provided a lot of value for XYZ person. I would like to show you what I could do for you as well. That momentum is kind of like that first domino dropping. They're all going to continue to drop once you get that first anchor client. And this is what Creating Fame is all about. So this was the online course that Laura Roeder first initially taught. And it is about kind of getting your message out there in a unique way. So to get this first anchor client, you want to think value first. You want to get out there and say, is it possible to find out what they're doing right now? Did they just write a book? Did they just create a course? Did they just launch a new product? Research them. There's a ton of ways you can Google them, get on their LinkedIn profile, see what they're up to, and then think about a platform that you could offer them in order to offer value. So if you have a podcast, offer to bring them on your podcast so they can pitch their book. If you don't have a podcast, whip up a YouTube channel and start getting some followers on there, then offer them to come on as a guest on your YouTube channel. This is going to be a great way that you can reach out to these influencers with value. So you're coming to them, offering them your services of providing them an audience's eyes that they might not have reached in the past. And that is how your anchor clients are going to see you as someone they'll pay attention to, even if you don't have a name in your industry right now. So first, give value. Make sure you have a way that you're offering them that value. So come with a solution. Don't ask them, how can I offer you value? Because that likely is going to put the burden on them to figure it out. And that cognitive load is probably just going to be something they'll push off, delete the email, archive it. Rather, come with a solution of saying, I have a guest opening on my podcast coming up. I would love to get you there. Then you can offer your work and services for free once you have a connection with them. And then once you offer these services for free, you can start to gather testimonials from them. I know it's no fun to do free work at first, but laying this foundation and getting these testimonials is going to be priceless for your marketing down the road. Because when your face is next to them, you immediately get that association with their name, and you immediately skyrocket your trust and skyrocket your authority. Again, just allowing you to raise your prices of your product or service in that way. So when you're doing this, the mindset change number 2 here that we have to follow is that you want to make sure you're becoming a business that does not chase after clients eventually. You don't want to go out there and be chasing clients. You want your clients to be chasing after your business. You want your business to be so well known in your industry about who you're working with because you're associated with these top influencer brand names that clients are banging at the door to work with you. When this happens, it truly is about mastering your marketing, getting your traction and sales set up, and then the fulfillment of offering your course, offering your services, offering your product becomes the easy part. So remember that first. Getting these marketing, networking, and sales techniques that we're going through here down first is the easiest, is the most important part. And then it becomes so much easier to serve that value because you've created that community who is ready to buy from you. So the truth is that all of the best known businesses are the best known, and they're there because they position themselves as an expert, and they're gaining the market share of people out there. They're gaining the attention and they're gaining the clients, right? So when you have influences and you increase your prices, what happens? It becomes possible for you to do what you love to do, and it becomes possible for your customers to love paying for that. So you see how this kind of great abundance is created when you approach it in a way that you're positioning yourself as an expert, your business is a sought after one, and people want to be paying you for your product or service. The sales and marketing then becomes so much easier. And the best part is people aren't going to feel like you're selling to them. They're going to feel like you're just opening up your story to them if you're telling the story of working with these bigger name people, right? If you're telling the story of how you've offered value to a big name person in your industry and the results that you got for them through your product or service, that is a great story that people can latch onto, way better than if you came at them with just, here are the features of my product, please purchase from me. Also, I want you to remember that when you're selling, especially at first, you have to really value your product because every product out there can sell for a wide range of pricing, right? Think about a pair of sunglasses that you buy at a gas station versus a pair of sunglasses you might buy at Prada. One is going to be $5, one is going to be $500. Why do people pay a different range for this? Because people value it differently, because that authority and that prestige of a brand is available in those Prada sunglasses. They have a story, they have a brand affinity behind them, and that allows the price to be higher, even if it did not take that much more money to make that pair of sunglasses. I'm sure it took a little bit more money, but I doubt it took $500 more than that gas station pair of sunglasses took. So the value is going to be in the eye of the beholder. So if you can let your beholder, which are your clients, your prospective clients, know the value they're getting by who you've worked with in the past, and you've created that fame for your business, that is when it's going to become clear to your customers that it's a fair exchange of value for offering your services at a higher price. So again, it all comes down to you being really confident that your service and product has received results from people of authority to create that fame within your industry. Another example is, why do people go to Whole Foods over Safeway to buy things? It is because you have an affinity to that brand. You can purchase groceries for much less at Safeway than you can at Whole Foods. But Whole Foods has positioned themselves as a brand, and people value having that status symbol. People value purchasing from Whole Foods and what it says about them more than they value purchasing from Safeway. So you want to be a brand that people value from purchasing from. And again, this value comes from your association with the movers and shakers in your industry. When you are presenting what problem you're going to solve, and when you are getting confident about selling, I want you to also remember that your product or service is not just solving a pain point that is strictly logical. It's solving an emotional problem for people. Every single problem and every single product or service out there has an emotion tied to it of why someone wants it. So you need to dig a little bit deeper. If you've never done the exercise of sitting down and asking yourself, what is the emotional problem that my product or service fixes? This is an excellent exercise to do right now. What are people really coming to you for? For example, MeetEdgar, social media automation software, they're not coming to us just to have a software. They're coming to us to solve the problem of not being able to spend time with their family because they're babysitting their social media. That's an emotional problem that they have, and we can save them time to go ahead and do that. They have an emotional problem of being overwhelmed, so they can't work on other areas of their business. So we can solve that problem. But this is the emotional tie to the value that we're bringing that is way stronger when it comes to purchase power and to move people into purchasing your products or service than just emotion. So remember here that emotion gets humans to buy, and logic convinces us that we made the right choice. So when you're going into these conversations with influencers in your space, and when you're building your authority up, I want you to really remember to approach them with what problem they have and why your product or service is tied to the emotion behind the problem. So take some time to write that out about what emotion your product or service can really help provide to those influencers. And when you're going to offer your value to them, lead with that emotional tie first. Next, I want you to remember when you're making a sale, whether it's to an influencer or whether it's to one of your community members, you need to make sure that it's beneficial for both parties, for you and for them. This makes selling way less scary. And I want you to go through something exercise of really digging down to what people want. For example, when Laura was first starting out with her company, she was really focused on Twitter marketing, creating fame on Twitter. So she would have a lot of clients come to her and ask, do you set up Twitter accounts for me? Her answer to that is no. However, that's kind of shutting the door on your sales, right? That's not leaving it open-ended question in order to get to that emotional why they actually are asking this. Often our prospective clients don't really know the question they should be asking. So sometimes in the sales process, you need to guide them there. So rather than just saying, no, I don't set up Twitter accounts, you could say something like, the The clients that I've worked with in the past find setting up their Twitter accounts is a breeze after they take my class and after they take my consulting, and they tend to gain XX amount of followers in whatever amount of time. Do you see how that's a much better answer to let people know, hey, you might be asking the wrong question here. You really don't want me to set up your Twitter account. That's something you can do. What my service can provide for you is this result here, and this is going to be a much stronger answer than just saying no. So dig deep into the questions and objections that your clients and that your fans might be asking right now. If they're not purchasing from you and you're on a phone call with them and they ask if you do something, remember to dig a little bit deeper on what they're actually asking and how you can flip that around to tell them what they actually might want from your product or service and the value it can provide to their life and the emotional problem that it's going to solve for them. Cool. So people really might not know the right solution to their problem. So if you can explain it in a better way and you can actually present that you are more aligned with what's going on in their life, that is what is getting people the most attention and the most conversions, especially online. If you can describe the problem they're having better than they can, that's going to build trust and that's going to build a really great framework for you to then work with them in the future. And again, that creating fame all depends upon them feeling like you understand them, you have authority in your field, and that your solution is the one that's going to solve their emotional pain points. And that logical aspect is what's going to go ahead and get into their head and say, hey, you've made the right decision, because the emotion is tied to the fact that you've presented them with a trustful solution. So you can do this so easily online these days. And if you're someone who's making a pivot and just starting out, I want you to think about a funnel that you can create to do this, especially right now if you're pivoting from, say, from a brick and mortar store to teaching stuff online or something like that. This is a typical funnel that anyone can do, and you can set this up so easily. You just need to get a landing page to have like a registration page so people can get to know you and you can present yourself as an authority to tell your story better. This can be done for free on things like ConvertKit, MailChimp, Unbounce. They all offer free plans that will allow you to create a landing page that tells a little bit about your story, where people can register for a webinar that you're going to go ahead and offer live, because that live version of your webinar is going to build your authority and create that fame so much more to get that face-to-face connection with people. In your webinar, you want to offer people your best material to get them a result that's associated with the pain point they're coming to you for. On that live webinar, you are also going to end it by selling them a paid course. So they're registering for your webinar, they're coming free to attend the webinar, and you've given them a really action-packed, amazing webinar that got them a good result. At the end, you're selling a paid course. From there, this is going to help you start building your list up. After you've built your list up a little bit, and after you've gained that authority and word of mouth marketing online through things like influencers in your space and through things like followers on social media, you can continue to create either more courses, or you could make a pivot into a product or into a software company, as Laura did, and you can continue to sell to them because this initial course gave them so much value. So you see how you can start this right now, even if you do not know what product or service you want to sell in the future, even if you are very unsure about where your business is going to go after things from COVID go back to the quote unquote new normal, after things go back to the new normal and you're not sure what you're going to do with your business, this is something you can do right now. And if your business has to pivot in the future, you have that community who is going to be ready to buy from you. So really take this to heart, because everyone is an expert in something. You know something that only you can teach in the way you do. Think about what your friends and family ask you about. Think about something you're training for. Think about something that you are cooking really well. Think about the way you organize things even. These smaller things can be taught online. If you're an expert in other areas like fitness, of course, if you're a massage therapist, you could do a webinar about, leading to great muscle routines at home right now to relax yourself and relieve stress. The pain points that people have out there can be solved by some sort of talent you have. You just need to take some time to discover your why, about why you want to go ahead and get this message out into the world. And then this simple funnel is what's going to get you there. And then you can pivot after that at any time because you've built a trusting community. When you are actually going to create ads, perhaps to get people to your registration page, or to create a course right now in order to build your authority, I want you to remember what Edgar always preaches, and that is creating content in an evergreen fashion. This idea is that it can offer value no matter what time of year it is, no matter who sees it when. It's going to provide that value that solves their emotional pain point. And this is also really a great strategy because you can do less work and gain more attention if you're doing it in an evergreen fashion, and you can reuse these launches and you can reuse these status updates multiple times on your feed. And I want to give you the peace of mind that seeing an old ad again, if some of your followers see an old ad of something that they purchased in the past, perhaps like a course, and you relaunch it, that is really truly just a confirmation to them that they made a really good decision to buy from you, because they're seeing you be successful and they're seeing you get this course out again and relaunching it. And that confirmation is only going to build a stronger tie with your community members. So again, if you make a pivot, they are ready to buy from you in the future because they see you as a successful entrepreneur. And that is what creating fame online is all about. So if you are someone who has not come up with your irresistible offer yet, this is where it starts. Sitting down and thinking about what you can offer the world from what you've learned. For example, Laura knew she could offer the world this strategy that took her from being just a simple kind of marketing expert into a marketing expert that people were throwing their money to work with because she got results for people and she leveraged the connections that she made online. That irresistible offer became something that led her to creating the software Edgar because she was having too much work to do in her online marketing business that she didn't have enough time to post on social. She then started telling that community that was ready to eat up anything she bought about the software she made for herself. They then reflected back to her, oh my gosh, I would use something like that. When she pivoted, some of the people from her initial irresistible offer of being an online educator followed her when she became a CEO of a software company. It is a beautiful thing to create this fame for yourself online, especially for times like right now when you do have to make that pivot. And remember, we really are on an even playing field right now. No one really knows how to handle a crisis like this. Similar to how I know you're hearing the word pivot all over the place, I'm going to use another word like that, which is unprecedented. We do not know how to handle things like this as a society right now. So we're all on an even playing field. So don't think that someone else can do this, but you can't. You can totally build up your fame online right now. It's going to take consistency, and it's going to take you pushing and reaching out of your side of your comfort zone to get that first initial anchor client, to get your name out there and associated with an influencer in your business. And then you can, of course, start to then reach out and build your community in other areas using their name and showing the results you got for them. When you are doing this, I also want you to remember that this can be done quickly online. There's not a lot of overhead. The services that you need in order to accomplish this, as I mentioned, sites like MailChimp can help you have a free landing page. Sites like YouTube can have your webinar done for free. Facebook Lives, like I'm doing right now, completely free. Facebook advertising costs are down 40% right now from what they usually are. So take advantage of this time to start building your authority and your area of expertise. And remember, when you do this now, when you offer value now in a course or a service or a consulting that you can do, once it comes time for you to make a pivot, perhaps to a product-based service or to a software or to a different kind of course sale, your community is what's going to take you from being a no-name and put that pivot into a successful situation. I truly believe in the system of creating fame, and I know that Laura has a lot more to say on this. So if you do want to ask any further questions about her specific pivot, go find her on Twitter. She's at LKR and would love to talk with anyone, especially right now, to offer her expertise. Here at Edgar, we want to do everything we can to help small businesses. So please let us know what questions you have specifically about making a pivot to being an online business. Like I said, you can tweet Laura, you can email support@meetedgar.com, or of course make a comment in these videos. We go live every single day, and I would truly love to hear what your business is struggling with so we can make sure that these are geared towards offering you the most value. Please reach out with any other questions, and thanks so much for tuning in today.